Hello and welcome to Read and Learn English. Today, we bring you the incredible story of a boy whose curiosity and determination changed the world forever. This is the story of Thomas Edison, the boy who lit up the world. Stay with us until the end to discover how his failures led to success and how his inventions shaped the modern world. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories. Now, let's begin. It was a cold winter morning on February 11, 1847, in the small town of Milan, Ohio. A baby boy was born into the Edison family. His parents, Samuel and Nancy Edison, named him Thomas Alva Edison. From the very beginning, little Thomas was different. Unlike other children, he did not accept things as they were. He always asked, why or how? His curiosity was endless. He wanted to know how things worked, why the sky was blue, and how birds could fly. His mother, Nancy, was a school teacher and encouraged his love for learning. She often read to him and answered his endless questions. But Thomas wasn't satisfied with just listening. He wanted to see, touch, and experiment with everything around him. One day, when he was just 3 years old, he watched a goose sitting on her eggs. He saw how the eggs hatched into baby geese and thought, if a goose can do it, maybe I can too. So, he gathered some eggs and sat on them for hours, waiting for them to hatch. When his mother found him, she laughed and explained how nature worked. Even at a young age, Thomas showed signs of being an inventor. But little did the world know, this curious boy would one day change history. As Thomas grew older, his curiosity only deepened. He didn't just ask questions, he searched for answers. He wanted to test, observe, and discover. One day, when he was 6 years old, he saw a bird flying and wondered, can I make a human fly? He decided to try an experiment. He fed his friend a special mixture of different seeds and water, hoping it would make him fly like a bird. Of course, nothing happened, and his friend got sick instead. His parents realized Thomas wasn't like other children. His curiosity was dangerous, but it was also a gift. Instead of punishing him, his mother encouraged him to read and explore in a safer way. She gave him books on science and history, and young Thomas fell in love with learning. His love for books grew, and soon he was reading advanced science books meant for adults. But he wanted to do more than read. He wanted to experiment. His experiments, however, often caused trouble. He once started a small fire while mixing chemicals in the basement. His father scolded him, but his mother smiled and said, someday, his curiosity will change the world. And she was right. At the age of 7, Thomas Edison started school. But school was not what he had expected. Instead of exciting experiments and discoveries, he found himself bored. The teacher, Mr. Engel, wanted students to memorize facts, but Thomas wanted to ask questions and explore ideas. One day, when the teacher was explaining math, Thomas interrupted, "But why does it work that way?" The teacher frowned and said, "Just follow the rules, Thomas." But Thomas wasn't satisfied with just following rules. He wanted to understand the reasons behind everything. This frustrated Mr. Engel, who called him addled, meaning slow or confused. When Nancy Edison heard about this, she was furious. She pulled Thomas out of school and said, "You are not slow. You are different, and that is a gift." From that day on, she taught him at home. She gave him books on chemistry, physics, and history. She allowed him to do experiments and test his ideas. Under his mother's guidance, Thomas's mind flourished. He was not a failure. He was just learning in a different way. And that difference would one day change the world. By the time Thomas was 12 years old, he was full of energy and ideas, but his family was struggling financially, and he wanted to help. So, he decided to start his own business. He got a job selling newspapers and candy on the Grand Trunk Railroad. Every morning he would wake up early, hop on the train, and travel from town to town, selling newspapers to passengers. But Thomas wasn't just a salesman, he was an innovator. He noticed that people wanted more news, so he printed his own small newspaper, the Grand Trunk Herald, and sold it on the train. It became a huge success, and soon, people looked forward to his updates. At only 12 years old, he was not only making money, but also running his own business. But his greatest adventure was yet to come. While selling newspapers, Thomas saw an empty baggage car on the train and had a brilliant idea. He would turn it into a laboratory. He filled the car with chemicals, wires, and batteries, conducting experiments while the train moved across the countryside. He was always busy mixing chemicals, testing electricity, and making discoveries. One day, while experimenting with phosphorus, a fire broke out. The conductor was furious and threw Thomas and all his equipment off the train. His dream of a train laboratory was over, but his passion for science never faded. Instead, he decided to take his experiments to the next level. One day, while selling newspapers at the train station, Thomas saw a 3-year-old boy playing on the tracks. Suddenly, a train was coming at full speed. Without thinking, Thomas jumped onto the tracks and pulled the boy to safety just in time. The boy's father, J.U. Mackenzie, was the station master. Overcome with gratitude, he asked Thomas, "How can I ever repay you?" Thomas didn't hesitate. He said, "Teach me how to use the telegraph." Mr. Mackenzie agreed, and soon Thomas was learning Morse code and working as a telegraph operator. This was a turning point in his life. It was the first step toward the world of invention and electricity. As a telegraph operator, Thomas Edison traveled across the country, sending messages in Morse code. He worked hard, but he also used every free moment to experiment and improve the telegraph system. He often stayed up all night, taking apart machines and rebuilding them in new ways. His colleagues thought he was strange, but he didn't care. He was preparing for something much bigger. His work with the telegraph would lead him to his greatest invention, the electric light bulb. But that part of the story is yet to come. By the time Thomas Edison was in his early 20s, he had become a skilled telegraph operator. But he wasn't satisfied with just sending messages. He wanted to improve the machines. Edison spent all his spare time experimenting with telegraph equipment. He created a device that could send multiple messages at once, which caught the attention of important businessmen. In 1869, at just 22 years old, Edison patented his first major invention, the automatic vote recorder. He thought politicians would love it, but no one was interested. Instead of feeling discouraged, Edison learned a valuable lesson. An invention must be something people actually need. He moved to New York City, determined to invent something the world couldn't ignore. For years, people had been trying to create a practical electric light bulb, but no one could make one that lasted long enough or was affordable. Edison believed he could solve the problem. In 1878, He gathered a team of scientists at his famous Menlo Park laboratory and began working on the electric light bulb. For months, they tested different materials for the filament, the tiny wire inside the bulb that glows when electricity passes through it. Thousands of attempts failed. Some people laughed at him and said, "You're wasting your time, Edison." But Edison refused to give up. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Finally, in October 1879, Edison and his team discovered the perfect filament, carbonized bamboo. The first long-lasting light bulb was born. It could glow for more than 1,200 hours, and soon the world would never be in darkness again. With the success of the light bulb, Edison became famous. People called him the Wizard of Menlo Park. But he didn't stop there. He wanted to bring electricity to every home, factory, and city in the world. In 1882, he built the world's first electric power station in New York City. For the first time in history, entire streets were lit by electricity. It was a revolution. People no longer had to rely on candles or oil lamps. They could simply flip a switch, and light filled the room. Edison's invention changed the way people lived, worked, and built cities, but he was far from done. Edison wasn't just an inventor, he was a creator of industries. Over his lifetime, he invented over 1,000 devices, including the phonograph, the first machine that could record and play sound, the motion picture camera, the beginning of the movie industry, the alkaline battery, used in cars, flashlights, and more. His inventions shaped entertainment, communication, and transportation, touching every part of modern life. He believed that technology should make life easier for everyone, and he spent his entire life working toward that goal. Edison's journey was not always easy. He faced many failures and public criticism. His electric car battery idea failed. His cement business never succeeded. His direct current, DC electricity system lost to Nikola Tesla's alternating current, AC system. But he never let failure stop him. He always found a way to move forward. He once said, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." For Edison, hard work was the key to success. By the early 20th century, Edison had become one of the most respected men in the world. Presidents, kings, and scientists admired his work. His inventions transformed daily life, from the way people lit their homes to how they listened to music and watched movies. Edison worked tirelessly until his final days. Even in his 80s, he was still experimenting, still curious, still dreaming of new ideas. On October 18, 1931, at the age of 84, Thomas Edison passed away. To honor him, cities around the world turned off their lights for 1 minute, a tribute to the man who had brought light into their lives. Thomas Edison's life is proof that failure is just another step toward success. He never stopped learning, never stopped trying, and never gave up. His story teaches us. Curiosity leads to discovery. Always ask questions and seek answers. Hard work matters. Success doesn't happen overnight. It takes effort. Failure is not the end. Every mistake brings you closer to success. Thanks to Edison, we live in a world filled with light, sound, and moving pictures. His legacy continues to inspire inventors, dreamers, and problem solvers everywhere. Thomas Edison's story proves that one person's ideas can change the world. What did you learn from his journey? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this inspiring story, please like, share, and subscribe to Read and Learn English for more amazing content. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Thank you for watching and see you next time.